Silence, when used within a healthy relationship, can be a pause for reflection, a moment to cool down before saying something you might regret. But you aren't here because your partner asked for some time to think. You are here because the silence you're experiencing isn't a pause. It's a punishment. It's a weapon. There is a very specific physical sensation that precedes a narcissist's silent treatment. It's as if the temperature in the house drops 10 degrees in a second. The air becomes heavy, thick, almost unbreathable. You feel a knot in your stomach, that old anxiety telling you that you've stepped into a minefield, even without moving a muscle. What most people don't understand, and what makes you feel so isolated and often question your own sanity, is that this silence isn't passive. He isn't being quiet. He is screaming at you without opening his mouth. It's an active aggression, meticulously designed to make you feel small, insignificant, and above all, desperate for his validation. In this video, we are going to understand this psychological torture. We aren't just going to list behaviors. We're going into his mind to understand why he does this, and more. Importantly, we're going to validate what you feel. If you've ever caught yourself apologizing just to hear his voice again, or if you felt like you were going crazy because he acts like you don't exist, this content is the map that will lead you out of that fog. We're going to analyze the 5 clear and unmistakable signs that his silence isn't just his way, but a brutal tactic of narcissistic control. My name is Lauren Mitchell. My purpose with this channel is to show you that the problem was never you, and more importantly, that you are not alone. If this video speaks to your heart, I invite you to check out the link in the description. You'll find an ebook created with great care to help you reframe what you've been through, strengthen your self-esteem, and reclaim the you that was stolen from you. First sign, the sudden shutdown with no apparent cause. The first clear sign that you're dealing with the narcissistic silent treatment, and not just a simple bad mood, is the abrupt nature of its onset. It's what we call the shutdown. In normal relationships, silence usually follows a clear conflict. There was yelling, there was an argument, and people distance themselves. With a narcissist, the mechanism is different. Often, the silence begins when everything seemed fine. You were laughing in the car, or having dinner, or watching a movie. Suddenly, a switch flips. His face changes, his gaze becomes glassy or dismissive, and communication stops. For you, this causes an immediate shock. Your brain goes into hypervigilance mode. You start a frantic mental review of the last 30 minutes, the last 2 hours, the entire day. What did I say? Was it my tone of voice? Did I interrupt him? Did I look the wrong way? You become a detective for a crime that never happened. And that is exactly where the power of this first sign lies: ambiguity. The narcissist knows that if he says, "I'm angry because you didn't salt the food," you could argue, "But I did." There's a fact to debate. But if he simply goes silent for no apparent reason, he leaves you fighting ghosts. He projects his insecurity onto you. By going quiet out of nowhere, he forces you to fill the void with your own insecurities. You start taking the blame for things that don't even exist. God, I must be unbearable, you think. I must have done something horrible for him to be like this. Notice the dynamic. The focus shifts entirely away from his abusive behavior and onto your supposedly flawed behavior. You stop questioning why he is unstable and start questioning why you are inadequate. This sudden shutdown serves one primary purpose: to keep you in a state of perpetual anxiety. If silence can come at any moment, without warning and without logical cause, you spend 24 hours a day walking on eggshells. You modulate your voice, censor your topics, and control your breathing, all in a futile attempt to prevent the switch from flipping again. But the brutal truth is that the switch that doesn't flip because of what you do. It flips because he needs supply, and seeing you desperate to fix what isn't broken is the purest supply there is. Second sign, the ghost presence. The second sign is perhaps the most painful of all, because it involves the denial of your humanity. It's what I call the ghost presence. The narcissist's silent treatment rarely involves him leaving the house and disappearing for days, though that happens too. The most sadistic form happens when he remains in the same environment as you. He's sitting on the couch. He's in the kitchen. He's lying in bed, next to you. His body is there, taking up space, but he flatly refuses to acknowledge your existence. This isn't just not talking. It's a performance of imposed invisibility. You ask a direct question. Do you want dinner? He doesn't answer. He doesn't look up. He keeps looking at his phone or the TV as if he heard the wind blowing, not the voice of a human being. You try again, perhaps touching his arm. He physically flinches away or shoots you a look of absolute contempt before going back to ignoring you. Psychologically, what's happening here is devastating. Being ignored activates the same areas of the brain responsible for physical pain. Evolution programmed us to need connection. Being ostracized by the tribe meant death. When the person who is supposed to be your safe harbor acts as if you are transparent, as if you are a piece of furniture in the room, it sends a profound message to your subconscious. You have no value. You do not exist. The narcissist uses the ghost presence to objectify you. In that moment, to him, you aren't a person with feelings. You're an object he decided to put on a shelf. He sees your pain. He sees your tears. He hears your trembling voice, asking, "Why are you doing this?" And he feels no empathy. On the contrary, he feels power. He feels like a god who has the power to nullify the existence of another being. The more you cry, the more you beg for an answer. Any answer, even a scream, would be better than nothing. The more powerful he feels. It is crucial that you understand. He heard you. He knows you are suffering. He isn't processing feelings or too hurt to speak. He is actively choosing, moment by moment, to maintain the barrier because he is enjoying the control he has over your emotional state. He is training you. The message is clear. Your existence depends on my attention. If I withdraw my attention, you cease to exist. Third sign, the loud silence. Moving on to the third sign, which reveals the inherent contradiction in narcissism. If the goal were truly to have peace and quiet, he would be still, right? Wrong. The narcissist practices loud silence. This sign is characterized by a cacophony of aggressive, nonverbal behaviors. He isn't speaking to you, but he makes sure you know he is furious. It's the slamming of doors that makes the house shake. It's throwing his keys on the table with unnecessary force. It's the loud, heavy sigh, that sound of exhaustion and contempt, every time you enter the room. It's turning up the volume on the television to drown out your presence. Why does he do this? If he wants to ignore you, why make so much noise? Because absolute silence might eventually lead you to walk away and mind your own business. And he doesn't want that. He doesn't want you to ignore him back. He wants you fixated on him, monitoring his mood. Loud silence is bait. It's a provocative trap. He is creating an environment of unbearable tension to force you to break the silence. He wants you to reach your breaking point and say, "For God's sake, what is happening? Why are you slamming things?" The moment you do that, he flips the script. He can finally speak, but only to say, "Are you crazy? I just closed the door. You're hysterical again. You're impossible to live with." See the perverse genius of the maneuver. He provokes a reaction through noise and passive aggression, and when you react to that aggression, he uses your reaction as proof that you are the aggressor, that you are the unstable one. He manages to maintain the victim stance. "I was just minding my own business and she started a fight," while in reality, he was psychologically poking you until you exploded. This sign serves to keep you in a state of high alert. You can't relax, read a book, or work, because every noise he makes is a veiled threat. The house stops being a home and becomes a stage, where he performs his displeasure, and you are the captive, terrified audience waiting for the next act. Fourth sign, selective and public exclusion. While inside the house, silence is a weapon of nullification. Outside the house or in the presence of others, it transforms into a tool for triangulation and humiliation. This is the fourth sign, selective exclusion. Imagine the scene. You haven't spoken for 2 days at home. The atmosphere is a cold war. You have a dinner with friends or a family event. You go there tense, thinking he'll be stony-faced the whole time. But once you arrive, a miraculous transformation occurs. He is the life of the party. He smiles, tells jokes, is charming to the waiter, attentive to his mother, and playful with his friends. He talks to absolutely everyone, except you. He answers everyone's questions while looking them in the eye. When someone asks a question to both of you, he answers for himself, ignoring your part. If you say something in the conversation circle, he immediately steers the topic elsewhere, or starts checking his phone, without validating your comment. It is a surgical exclusion. This behavior has two devastating goals. First, to make you doubt your reality, gaslighting. You look at him being friendly and think, "Did I imagine the coldness? Look how nice he is. The problem must be me." The contrast between the monster at home and the angel in public is so great that it causes cognitive dissonance. Second, it's a way to isolate you socially without anyone noticing. To outside observers, he seems normal. If you try to complain or show you're upset, you'll look like the cranky, needy, or ungrateful wife who is ruining the night for such a great guy. He builds a public narrative where he is the nice guy, and you are the difficult one, all without saying a single direct word of offense to you. He uses the attention he gives others as currency to show you what you've lost. Look how wonderful I can be, he silently communicates, and see how you don't even deserve a glance. It's a way to generate jealousy not just of other women, but of anyone who receives his attention. You end up envying the waiter because the waiter got a smile and a thank you, while you, the partner, received only the void. Fifth sign, conditional return and selective amnesia. Finally, we reach the fifth sign, which is how the cycle closes, or rather, how it restarts. It is the conditional return. After days or even weeks of silent torture, the narcissist decides the punishment is over. Maybe he needs something from you. Sex, money, a chore, or he's simply bored. How does he end the silence? Does he sit down and say, "Look, I'm sorry I went quiet. I was upset about X and didn't know how to handle it"? Never. That would require emotional responsibility and empathy. The narcissist ends the silence by acting as if it never happened. He wakes up on a Tuesday and asks, "Is there coffee?" Or, "Have you seen my blue shirt?" The tone is normal. The expression is neutral. In that moment, you feel immense relief. A flood of dopamine. It's over. Thank God he's back. Your instinct is to embrace this normalcy and move on. But this return comes at a very high price. Your submission to his reality. If you try to talk about what happened, if you say, "Can we talk about these last 3 days where you didn't speak to me?" the mask falls instantly. He'll say, "Here you go again. You love starting drama. We're fine now. Why do you want to ruin everything? You're so resentful." He conditions the return of communication on your acceptance of selective amnesia. To get his love back, you must agree to erase the memory of the abuse. You have to swallow the hurt, the tears, and the loneliness you felt, and smile as if nothing happened. This sets a dangerous precedent. You learn that complaining or trying to resolve conflicts results in abandonment, silence, and you learn that the only way to have peace is to pretend the abuse doesn't exist. Over time, you stop bringing problems up. You become a shadow, accepting crumbs of attention as if they were banquets, grateful just that he's talking to you, no matter what he's saying. This return without resolution is not peace. It's a temporary ceasefire where you've lost territories of your soul. He comes back not because he loves you, but because the silence has already served its purpose of taming you a little more. Understanding these 5 signs is painful, I know. It's like looking at the X-ray of a compound fracture, but it is necessary. As long as you believe his silence is just his way of dealing with stress, or that it's your fault because of something you said, you will remain trapped in this labyrinth, trying to find the right exit. The shift happens when you realize there is no right exit, because the labyrinth was designed to trap you, not to be solved. The silent treatment is not a lack of communication. It is a very clear communication. He is communicating. I don't care about your feelings. I use affection as currency. I am in control. When you stop seeing the silence as distancing and start seeing it as an attack, your response changes. You stop begging. You stop explaining yourself. You stop knocking on the locked door. The only way to win the game of silence is not to play. It is to take back the power he has to define your mood and your worth. When he goes quiet, don't fill the void with your pain. Fill it with your own life. Leave him in silence with his own misery while you rediscover the voice he tried to quiet. You don't need validation from someone who makes you invisible. You desperately need your own validation. And it begins now with this understanding. Feel free to leave your story, your thoughts, or even a suggestion for the next video in the comments below. Access the link in the description to check out my ebook and the benefits of being a member of this channel. Click on the suggested video on the screen to stay with me and remember, you are light. Never forget to shine.